everybody, welcome and thank you for listening to episode 8 of Indie Game Dev Report, a podcast with a focus on interviewing indies. I'm Rick Oakland, and this time I've got a great interview with Xavier Moiny. He's going to talk to you about his wholesome adventure game, the Kind Camomille. And he's by now just launching his Kickstarter, and we will definitely get into that in just a minute. And I appreciate your patience here. First, you know that I'd like to promote some other projects real quick before we deep dive into the Kind Camomille. For those of you who do not know, Phoenix, Arizona, where I'm living currently, has a small indie dev scene, and I don't have a problem admitting that since I moved from a very tiny rural town about an hour or so from Chicago that had absolutely no indie scene there. So I'm super grateful for the small but existent indie scene in Phoenix, even though I don't get to spend much time with them right about now. All that being said, I'd love to take this opportunity to shout out my friend at Mattendo21, who just launched the Kickstarter campaign for the board game he's been designing. This board game is called Boss Battle, and on Twitter you can find it at Boss Battle Game. I've been seeing some of the awesome development and some of the artwork and stuff that's been going on behind the scenes on the Phoenix Game Dev Discord and through the IGDR Phoenix chapter. And that's how I met Matt, and this game looks great. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet. I was testing my own game, so I wasn't able to test his game. I've had, a chance to offer some feedback, which is always fun on the Discord server. It looks like the art is by someone named Andrew McKinney. It looks amazing, so I thought I'd mention him. If you're into indie board games, check out the prototype on their Twitter because it looks really cool. It looks like they used a laser cutter to make the box and the card holders, which is actually what I do in my day job. I use the laser cutter at a frame shop. The board was foldable cloth, which appears to mostly keep the cards in order, and surely foldable cloth is super handy for testing, so that way you can just fold it up and make iterations as you need to and that kind of stuff. So definitely go check out Boss Battle on Kickstarter, and go to at Boss Battle Game on Twitter to find out more about Mattendo21's project. It's very cool, and I definitely think you should go check it out. And as for me and my project, Retro Spaceball, I'm happy to say that I'm back in commission as far as working on it. At least I feel like I've healed a bit more, and I've got some more PTO lined up, which no lie kind of feels like it's keeping me alive right now. So I don't know what I'm going to do when I run out, but luckily I've got quite a bit stocked up. So I'm taking it slow, but I successfully added a new feature. Of course, I'm still testing, and some things still need to be worked out in the versus mode and stuff like that. But I was pretty smart about the way that I implemented things, so I can basically turn off the feature until it's ready in the scenes. Well, when it's ready in those scenes, I can turn it back on, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, so the update, I just put it out this last weekend. I'm getting some feedback on it. It's pretty cool. The laser fire rate is increased when you hold the boost button now, so that's like the major mechanic change here. It seems pretty intuitive. It seems to be a good game design choice. I finally got that update out after a whole month of no updates, but like I mentioned on Twitter, I'm okay with the break that I took. It was not only for my own health, but I've already put out 16 updates in 2020 alone. That's not counting 2019 or 2018. So yeah, the unexpected month of no updates kind of hurt the analytics, but that's okay. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the metrics, and it can kind of consume you in ways. But the metrics are just a tool, and you should never let your tools use you, is a strong motto that I have. And you are the user of your tools. So I gathered a ton of great metrics when I was hitting things hard, and that data is super awesome to have. So now I know I can get a ton of people to play a pin shooter, especially if it's a free web build. If it's Windows only download on the same itch page, things kind of drop off a bit. If you stop telling people about your game, they kind of stop showing up. But then you see the organic life without you pumping the hype into it, and it's humbling. It teaches you new perspective, and for me, it brings new excitement. No, the numbers aren't huge, but the community is real. people are interested. People are supportive. I've slowed down to prevent overdoing things and hurting myself in my joints, but I'm ready to start developing not only Retro Spaceball, but also my other projects, which I'm sure I'll go into in the future. So expect more from my studio and Retro Spaceball, and expect more IGDR as well. I definitely am learning a ton from these interviews and live networking sessions, and I'm sure that you are too. Thank you for listening to my little announcements. Get ready to learn about an amazing dev story, an amazing game. Enjoy this very in-depth interview with Xavier Moiny on the Kind Camomille, whose Kickstarter is going on right now, so check that out. So I've got another great interview here today. We've got the dev from Kind Camomille. If you could introduce yourself really quick, that would be awesome.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Xavier, and I'm the solo dev of, like I said, the Kind Camomille.
All right. So Xavier, we've been talking for just a little bit, but I'm just starting to get to know you here. It sounds like you just started this project not too long ago, but clearly you know what you're doing. Do you mind going into that a little bit?
Do you mean like the development itself, or how the hell do I know what I'm doing?
Well, let's kind of just start over a little bit here. So how long has the project been in development?
It's been in development since April of this year. So it's shy
okay. So to me, that seems like it's like yesterday.
Yes.
But I'm looking at your press kit and I'm just blown away by the beauty that is on there.
Thank you.
And I'm trying to come to terms with how you were capable of doing this and how our listeners can learn how to be as productive.
Yeah, sure. Maybe I can throw in some clues on how I did it. So in the past, I used to be a project manager in architecture. Okay.
I'm sure that helps a ton.
It does, because that way you can dress up a complete list of everything you're going to need. And when you are an artist, one of the issue, and especially if you are a solo developer, is you go down the rabbit hole. You go into detail. But if you keep a wider view of the whole project and you're chunking down in little pieces, it allows you to spend as less time as possible on every aspect of it. And before starting a project, what I do, and especially for that one, what I did is I do an extensive research of every technical aspect, every artistical aspect that are going to be able to save me time down the line and yet still achieve the vision I had.
Wow. So all of that work, well, first of all, how long exactly did you say you were an architect for? Or a production manager?
Yeah, so actually, just to give a little bit of background also, is I studied in fine art in Europe, in Belgium.
Oh, wow.
Then I came in Montreal and I studied video game.
Really?
Yeah, and I ended this course in 2007 because I'm like 35, but don't tell it. When I finished that video game course, it was sadly impossible for me to start working in the video game industry because the program I just followed was really not up to date with the release of the new generation of console that year in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Was, I think, the Xbox 360, Xbox One. So I ended up working into the architectural field as a 3D artist.
Wow.
And I did that for way too long, which led me to become a artistic director for architectural visualization and a software specialist for Autodesk.
Wow.
So basically I taught 3ds Max and other Autodesk suite softwares to architects and designers. Now,
did you learn CAD as well?
Nope.
Really? See, because I'm a 3D artist as well, and when I graduated during the recession, so I had a similar thing. There was no game jobs, so I was looking at architecture, but everyone was saying it needed to be CAD.
Yeah,
which felt really weird because I had learned Autodesk, but it was 3ds Max.
Yeah, so I mean, I had to touch CAD files, but that's the further I'm gonna do with that type of technology. I hate CADs.
Yeah, I tried it and I had trouble.
but hopefully I ended up working for a firm that was actually selling and pushing the software Revit. I don't know if you ever heard of that one.
I have. I don't know the ins and outs of.
It's like you model the actual architectural model in 3D, and the blueprints are generated from it.
Wow.
So they were pushing it and they were teaching it, and I joined that company and built a 3D department in it. And so I was lucky because I was able to work with a 3D version of CAD as a base for most of my projects. So yeah, I didn't have to suffer too much.
Wow. So that brings to mind my next question, which is, have you been working on this full time? This project, Kind Camomille?
Yes, I have. Of course, for I wouldn't be that far in 3 months if I was, because what happened is that I quit my career. Right, I stopped being a in visualization specialist in architecture. After like almost I don't know 12 years, it's enough. Right, I'm done with it.
It still took some guts, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course. And I left and I became a barista. Right, because one of my passions is coffee.
Change.
Yeah.
Okay. You love coffee. You love coffee, right?
I a ton, and so I became a barista. And sadly, the company I was working for closed because of the pandemic, right? And I saw that as an opportunity, time-wise.
Absolutely. In fact, when that happened, the podcast that I put out, that's exactly what I was telling people to do.
There you go.
So I'm glad that you did.
You're like, you have something you want to do, and you use time as an excuse most of the time.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait, it's gonna be no, or it's gonna be probably never. I mean, that's how my brain tends to function, but it's not the best way to think, actually. No, never is not the best way to think. But that's what I did, and then that allowed me to start the project.
You have to push yourself.
Yeah, you have to.
And you made a sacrifice. I mean, you think of all the time you missed out playing Animal Crossing, the New Horizons. I mean, because that was prime right during that when you were working on this game. Everyone else was playing that game.
Yeah, and like Cyberpunk is going to come down. I know it's a very different type of game than what I'm doing, but I'm a big sci-fi fan, and I will not play the game. I will not play it for when it gets out because there's no way I have to finish this one. So yeah,
it's hard. You got to make sacrifices.
Yeah, you do.
I'm still gonna pick up Cyberpunk. I don't know how much I'm gonna play it, but I'm definitely gonna pick it up.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. That way, I won't even.
We got months. It got delayed again. We got months.
It got delayed again. I didn't even know that.
Well, they were saying September.
Yeah.
I mean, well, that's what they were saying. I mean,
okay.
That just seems undoable.
You're right. Actually.
It seemed that way last year.
Yeah, you're right. And with the pandemic and stuff, it must have hit them too.
Yeah. And well, some of these bigger companies, they're kind of taking it in stride. It seems like because they can just either work from home or they've already got people working from home.
Yeah.
Some of it not.
Yeah, I do. I do have a couple of friends in big companies in here, Montreal, and yeah, most of them work from home anyway. That's true.
Yeah, it's a company to company thing, very much so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very cool. So let's talk a little bit more about Kind Camomille, since we've jumped into your background quite a bit here. So the game, it looks like a open world adventure discovery game that seems very narrative driven, but more discovery driven than narrative. I don't know. I'm just guessing here because I have not played it. No. And I've watched the trailer a few times, and I'm looking at the press kit, but that's really all I'm going off of here.
Yeah, sure. So the Kind Camomille is it's an exploration game, and it's very much less story driven. It's discovery driven. And yes, it's an open world. So it's a whole open island on which Camomille arrives to go and see her grandmother for her 100th birthday.
Okay.
All those words are very difficult for me to say. And basically, she comes on the island with a gift basket for the birthday, but it sadly gets every one of the item gets lost in the sea.
Oh no!
Yeah, she's going to have a hard time, and she's going to have to find new stuff to put inside the basket. But it's more of an excuse because the game is set and talks about random acts of kindness. That's the whole idea, actually, that got me going for this game, is just that.
Very cool.
I want to talk about random acts of kindness. So basically, the player is free to help or not. Every character is going to meet on this island. You can finish the game without barely talking to anyone and barely having anything in the gift basket, which is a bit mean, I guess. Because my opinion about random acts of kindness, they only make sense when they are not an obligation, right? It has to come from you. And that way the gameplay is set in a fashion where the characters are never going to ask anything from Camomille. You have to check what they are doing or just listen to the cues of what they are talking about to understand what they might need. And then it's up to you to go and find what they might need and help them with it.
So you've prevented it from being a series of fetch quests that way then?
Yeah, I'm trying to prevent it from being a series of fetch quests, which is very it's the challenge I have with that type of design, right?
Sure.
But the way it works is that you are not going to have a quest list, and you are never going to have a marker on the map to tell you where to go get something that they might need.
Okay, so it's a lot more exploratory.
Exactly. I want it to be exploratory. So, like you might walk along a river and see a butterfly net stuck on the rocks there, and you notice it, and then later on you're going to find a character that might have lost his butterfly net, and if you didn't came across it before, well, you can decide to try to find what is missing anyway. But you won't be able to pick up everything that you find. I don't want people to become like some weird kleptomaniacs, piling up items.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, right? Or overwhelmed, or piling up items into the inventories, right? It's not very interesting.
Or even you just want to make sure people get the message of the game. Exactly,
and that's why actually Camomille, she's mute. She doesn't speak ever.
Wow.
Because that's something I noticed when I got interested about that. It's when you actually stay quiet, you can notice what people might need more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I do.
The character being mute, which, I mean, it's not stated. I don't state that in the game, but I know she is mute as a developer.
Sure.
But that way it puts you in the perspective of listening and watching.
And something else that does that you've probably thought of as well is that when you hear a character that you're kind of portraying, when you hear it speak and it doesn't fit your expectations, it can actually break the immersion.
Oh, yes.
It's kind of like books, right?
Yes, I think it totally can. And I think it's why, for example, Nintendo is always steering away from it, right? They really don't do that. Link is never going to talk. Here, though, my decision to have Camomille not even have a written word anywhere is to emphasize that be quiet and listen to what people are saying. So yeah.
No, I love that. I practice that in my daily life for sure.
That's nice. It took me almost 30 years to start practice that. That's why like the game is important to me in that fashion.
It took me about that long to start speaking up, honestly.
Okay, I see. So yeah, and it's actually not that easy because it's a very simple idea, right? You set out to make a game about random acts of kindness, but being something that you don't obligatory do and that is not a condition of failure or success, how do you turn that into a gameplay?
Right.
So that's why the game is a short game. It's not a long game. It's not gonna be 10 hours of gameplay, and it has to be really nice with you also, so you tune into that feeling of warmth and you actually care about that, about helping other characters. And then I'm going to have a lot of little neat stuff that you can discover all around the island because I really want to push that discovery reward aspect.
Yeah. And the warmth is just completely fractal throughout the entire, from what I've seen at least, from the trailer and from what I've seen. but the music, oh my gosh.
Do you like it?
Yeah, and you know his name. I know it's on the press kit here.
Yeah, Matthew Vaughn. Yeah.
Matthew Vaughn, Royal Rudo Studios, it looks like.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I was very impressed with the short track on the trailer. Yeah, I was very impressed with it.
Yeah,
Was that something that you kind of directed, or something that you found of his that he had already done, or something that he made just for the project? How did that work?
Yeah, so I pitched onto a Discord server of a subreddit of game dev, and I pitched looking for a sound engineer / composer, right? And I received, I don't remember, but maybe 30 people sent their demos, and
Wow.
I was impressed by his the most.
Very cool.
So we started working on the track. I needed a specific track of 53 seconds for my trailer, and he made that exactly like I wanted it. So I actually directed a little bit of like the type of instrument and mostly the feeling I wanted to portray through it, right?
Yeah.
It's upbeat, it's joyful. That's the feeling I wanted to go through.
It's great.
Of course, the game is going to have a little bit more chilled, background tracks and stuff like that.
Sure. It's a trailer, so you got to have something that's
exactly. But no,
I love it.
He's super good, and like me, he's like in his 30s, and he's an old, like, I'm just quoting him here, but like an old fart with young dreams.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing something else professionally, and that's like his passion project, right? To make music for video games. So no, I'm super pleased, and I can't wait to see what is going to what type of track is going to come up with for the demo that I'm working on. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, I'm excited too. The particular track that on the trailer, it reminds me, and I listen to a lot of different music. I actually used to be a DJ, and I do some composition for games as well.
Nice.
But it reminds me of a Vampire Weekend track, oddly enough. It's got like it almost sounds like marimba or steel drum in the background, and it's just very almost like Caribbean, but not. It's very nice. I really like it.
Yeah, I really like it too. Actually, I'm going to write down what you said, because
it's funny. Vampire Weekend, they're not like a huge thing that I love or anything like that. Actually, a girl that I was dating a while back was very much into them, and that's how I know of them. But their particular styling is pleasant, for sure.
Sure, I'm going to check it out. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So are you working with anyone else on the project, or is it just you and Matthew so far?
It's me. I hired the help of a coder once on Fiverr. You gotta.
How'd that work out?
It's okay.
Yeah?
It's okay. It's not that easy, because I mean, what can you expect when you don't pay really much, right? I mean,
okay. Yeah, I've never tried it before. I've heard a lot about it. I know that there's like a lot from Pakistan, I guess, right now has a lot of coders that are kind of undercutting as far as the pricing goes. It makes it hard to compete with, I guess, is the thing, because they're very good from what I hear, but it's also very hard to communicate, I guess.
Exactly. I would say that's the main problem, is communication. And then the fact that, I mean, they are remote, they just pop in a little bit for the project. So, and it's perfectly human, but they don't really care that much about it, of course.
They're worried about their rent.
Yeah, I mean, it's normal. It's perfectly understandable, but I do care a ton. But I did that. And then when I'm really stuck with my coding, I'm lucky because one of my cousin is a gameplay programmer at Ubisoft.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so when I am really stuck, I just ask him one question, and he's gonna solve my problem in like 3 minutes. And I can be stuck on it for like 3 days, and it's stupid. But for me, it's very hard to ask for help. So I'm only going to do it when I start to stay out of my schedule, because I have a tight schedule for my whole development, and I try to keep on it.
Yeah, no, I have a theory, and I haven't worked this theory out yet, but because I have a similar problem, it's very hard for me to ask for help, but it's really easy for me to offer help. So
Oh,
my theory is that the more help that I offer, eventually I'm gonna be able to ask for help from someone that I've helped out over the years. You know what I mean?
yeah. I actually I tend to do the same thing. I love to help, but somehow there's something inside of me. I don't know if maybe you have the same feeling, but I don't like to feel indebted.
No, of course not. I don't think anyone really does. I
Okay.
think some people have this function to kind of bypass that, and not everyone has that. I definitely cannot bypass that feeling.
Yeah. So now I'm mostly alone working on this game. And I have somebody that helps me that started to help me like a week ago on marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Cool.
yeah, she's called Lauren, and she's pretty good. She's actually very good at what she's doing.
I've chatted with Lauren before.
You have?
I have, yeah. No, actually, I promoted her a little bit on the segment that I just released today. Actually,
Oh, cool.
yeah. No, I don't know her extremely well, but from what I've seen, she's doing some really great things for the community.
Yeah, she is. She's super nice, and she seems to care a lot about indie devs, which is very very sweet. And yeah, so she's helping me out because marketing wise, I'm not savvy at all. And I mean, I don't
It's
have
very
time.
difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult and it takes trial and errors, right? But when you're a game, how do you trial and error that much before like killing it, right? And
Yeah.
I cannot spend too much time experimenting either because I have the
Mm-hmm.
game to make.
Right.
So yeah,
Otherwise, you'll be back at the architectural visualizations, right?
yeah, no,
or
never.
the or barista when that
Yeah,
opens back up. But
yeah, yeah.
hopefully, you know, they we haven't even mentioned the Kickstarter. Hopefully, the Kickstarter goes great, and you get the funding that you need, and that we can get you out there. Let's talk about the Kickstarter a bit. I mean, it's
It's
not ready yet, so
no.
you can't go there and donate yet. But what you can do is you can go there and get notified for when it starts. I didn't even know that was a thing. I think that's really cool, and game devs should definitely open their eyes to that. It's kind of like wish listing on Steam.
Exactly. And you know what? Before Lauren told me about it, I didn't even know. I didn't even know you could be in pre-launch. And when, yeah, like you said, when you stay in pre-launch, you can go onto a little page there and just click on a little button that says "Keep me notified." And it's amazing because it gives you early adopters for the Kickstarter, and then it boosts the whole algorithm of their system and whatnot. Apparently,
Yeah.
so yeah, and no, it's not ready. Our Kickstarter is going to be launched on the 5th of August.
Oh, sweet. You have a date. The
Yeah,
5th of August.
yeah, I have a date, which stresses the hell out of me
It
because
stresses me out just hearing that because I know I have a date some point somewhere. I just need to figure it out.
that's true, and because I'm actually right now I'm making a demo for the game to
Mhm.
go with the Kickstarter launch,
Sure.
but it was not in my plans at all. Actually, when Lauren came into the project, I was about to just press launch on my Kickstarter button and
Oh,
call it a
no.
day. I had no clue you had to pre-warm and pre-launch and pre-everything. So I would have just tanked it, I think. So, and then she convinced me about the very good things about having a demo and all that stuff. But that was not in my schedule. I was nowhere to be seen. So
Yeah, no, Lauren knows what she's doing from what I've seen,
yeah,
just from being on Twitter and just seeing
completely.
projects.
So
That's so cool.
I have now less than a month to make a complete demo, but I mean a whole lot of systems that I plan to do later on in the development. I need to do them now so people can actually play something. And
Well, you're putting a lot of emphasis on the completion of something that's a demo. So don't stress yourself out too much here. It's a demo, you know.
yeah, you're right. You're right. That's
It
true.
doesn't have to be complete. You just need something for people to play. That's what they want. They just want something to play with.
Yeah, and so to offer something interesting to play with, I'm actually building up. It's going to be called Camomille's Playground, and
Oh, that's a great idea.
it's a small island. It's another island that lets you touch a vertical slice of everything you could do in the finished game, in the complete
Exactly.
game.
I
That
have a
way,
very similar idea for my next project. You're creating a place that is you're not spoiling the game for the
exactly.
for the beta testers or for anyone.
Because it's touchy. How do you let somebody try a very small game without like? I mean, you spoil it in like a minute if it's a small
and your pre-alpha testers. I mean, who are they? But your super fans. You don't want to spoil the game for them.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. So I'm going to reuse some of the elements I'm going to put on the island, like some characters and whatnot. I might make new little quests completely out of them, though.
Sure.
But I call them quests in a sensical term because they are not working as quests, but I have to use a term, right?
Yeah.
But
it's a mechanic to progress the game.
Exactly. And but of course the island is not going to have any gating, right? When my big Finnish island has a certain level of gating and smallish puzzles like that. But that way I can offer something to play and have fun with, and it's a bite full of joy. I'm going to call it that way.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent idea, and that's a great way to phrase it too. I really like that. I would stick with that phrasing.
Nice.
But I'm excited to join in on that too. So I mean, and then I'm sure that it's not going to cost an arm and a leg for this demo either. So that way, maybe someone who's just working, or someone like me that's a developer, might not have the time to play the full game, but is actually really more interested in watching the development and seeing how things go. I mean, I'd be willing to donate for that.
Yeah, you're right. No, it's going to be very very low actually, and even the Kickstarter itself, the whole goal is not high at all, because the idea is to help me to pay for translation, because I want the game translated in like a ton of languages if possible.
Very cool.
The Nintendo Dev Kit, because I'm really hopeful to get that game on Switch. I think it would be a perfect fit.
Yeah.
We'll see if they.
Later
on, right?
Up to them, right?
Yeah, it's up to them, and I have to prove that I can do something good before that. But that's down the line, and then other stuff like that. I'm not trying to get funds to pay for me finishing the game. It's more to help me actually pay amazing people like Matthew and his music and sounds and stuff like that, so I can bring the game to the best level possible.
Wow, that's super awesome. It's almost like you're donating your savings. I mean, obviously you're paying rent somehow.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to tell you what to do, but I mean, at some point, you might want to make that clear. At some point, that you're spending quite a bit of your own money.
Yeah.
I don't know who's the right audience to hear that, but
yeah, I don't know. Actually, I don't. I haven't planned of talking about that too much, but actually, maybe I should. I don't know. But yeah,
it's a huge donation to the project that isn't being seen on the Kickstarter, And I've actually heard of a lot of people, especially like last minute Kickstarter projects, where the devs themselves will throw in a few grand to make sure they meet the budget or meet the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I mean, if it has to happen, it has to happen, right?
Well, if it's like a $35,000 one or bigger, and it's only a few grand keeping you from it, then yeah, like maybe that's worth it. Of course, Kickstarter gets a huge chunk of that. I don't think Kickstarter would be upset if you donate in your own project either. That being said,
I don't think I don't think they have nothing against it. I don't know, but I'm not even close to $10,000 for that Kickstarter. It's a very small one.
Wow, yeah. that is quite small for something that's as appealing look as your game is. I mean, your game looks. I haven't played it yet, but I feel like some of the $10,000 range games, the art style and the quality is a lot lower than what I'm seeing from the screenshots that you've provided.
The way I see it is, I know how much I need to help me pay for other people's services and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't plan on letting people paying for my time. I don't like that idea. So basically, I know what I need, so that way I can ask for something that is low. Then after that, if people think that the game deserves more backing than just what I'm gonna ask for, but that's awesome. I mean, I will be able to bring more stuff in it. That's it.
Sure. I mean, it's a difficult question, to figure out how much you need, right?
Yeah.
So totally. I'm sure that just from seeing the game and hearing you talk about it, the energy behind it and the community and the people that you're going to bring to the project are all going to be super supportive, I feel like. I just hope there's enough supportive people out there because
that's the thing, right? It's a game that is centered around positivity and joy. I mean, to me, it's extremely good mentally right now. And like you said, what I like about the game is like almost everybody that comes in contact with what I'm trying to do and stuff, they get all positive about it. And I hope it's a contagious effect that's going to go even to the public of the game.
Honestly, I think the world needs that right now. And I feel like it's not just me that feels that way. So I think this is a great time for these. There's even a phrase being thrown around. It's almost like a genre, pre-apocalyptic, right? Instead of post-apocalyptic.
You're right. Yeah, there's this whole very cute movement that is growing and growing about wholesome games, right? And people start to really appreciate that. And I mean, I want my game to be played by kids and their parents, right?
So. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a really strong bond too. Some of my best moments with my folks were playing games.
Yeah, same with me, right? I remember discovering the NES with Super Mario, and my mom was like playing with me, and I mean, you never forget that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And all the way up, even was it Gran Turismo with my pops,
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
Yeah, it must have been.
Of course, eventually, stopped playing with my folks. But what are you gonna do? We all, everyone grew up and changed,
Yeah, I know. And then after that, we're gonna be. I should have played more.
Yeah. So, 3D modeling.
Yes.
You're really good at it.
Thank you.
And you can tell you're great at it because, especially in your architecture, clearly. But you're toning down the scope by using the low poly and the flat shaders. It's so well done. The decisions that you're making are just like phenomenal. Like where you're choosing to put the detail.
Thank you.
How do you go about making those decisions?
Artistically, it's a process of abstraction, right? And it's like I like that about low poly art. It's like you try to go as minimalistic as you would and as you could, while still fitting an aesthetic that you are looking for. So that is, I don't know exactly how to describe how you would do that. It's just it's an artistical sense. But then on the technical aspect, there's a lot of things that you can do, right? There's a lot of decisions that you can make before starting to model, before starting anything on the computer. You can already start to think down the line.
Your foundation.
Yeah, exactly, the foundations. And after that, before starting to actually model anything, like I said when we were warming for the interview, I tend to do a lot of research and I gather a lot of links and a lot of articles and I even look into assets, paid or free or whatever, and see which thing is going to allow me to cut development time, because obviously I want to finish the game.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it looks like you're doing a great job.
There is one particular aspect where I'm still very not good at, I think, for myself, is animations.
Oh, really?
I've never really animated before, so I'm picking it up as I go, and it's a bit difficult. It's an art form. Animators are.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I would love to be a good animator because the whole thing could move so much smoother, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's okay. It's working as is, and I'm glad with the look of it. But there's place for improvement.
What software are you using to do the animations?
I'm doing everything in 3ds Max.
3ds Max. So what animation technique are you using for 3ds Max? If you don't mind going into some of the more technical.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm not super good and nor savvy in animations, but I mean I'm using basic keyframing and I play with the
Okay.
curve.
No, I mean there's nothing wrong with keyframing. Yeah. There's a lot of perfectly great uses for it.
Yeah, and it's that's it. And I'm using a standard Max biped. I'm not even using cat or anything. I'm just like
okay. Yeah, I just started learning cat not that long ago, honestly, and I've been in animation for a long time now. But I really like cat. So I mean, if you do want to learn something, I would say that's probably the one to learn. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm planning to look into it because I want a whole bunch of wild animals inside of the game. And there is no way I'm going to animate quadrupeds. It's impossible for me. They are going to look really weird. So I'm either gonna have to buy some assets, at least for the animation files, or use something that is procedurally at first generated like cat walk cycles. I don't know exactly. We'll see.
And for anyone who's not listening, when we say cat, we're not actually talking about cats, where it's capital C, capital A, capital T. I forget what it stands for, but it's like a technique and it's like a tool, essentially. I think it's a tool. Yeah or like a tool kit, right? So yeah. But on the topic of quadruped animations, I just love this because I did a Ludum Dare, 39 or something. This was only a few years ago, 2017. And there was a cat in the game, and had to animate it,
Oh no!
In Ludum Dare, right? So yeah, I spent at least like 6 hours or something coming up with a rough quadruped animation, and it was rough. But as far as Ludum Dare comments go, everyone loved the cat just because it had this leg that just did this thing, It's hard to describe. I fixed it. I mean, I updated the game and I fixed it since. But
no, they are super difficult, the quadrupeds, because we are used to see them, but mechanically they are so different from us that we do not comprehend how they work. And then you make something that is janky as hell. But yeah, it's interesting.
It's weird. It's like they're walking on their toes.
Yeah, they are super weird.
But I see. The chamomile, the character, is a mouse, but a biped mouse.
Yes,
so that's interesting. But anthropomorphization. I had trouble saying that.
Yeah, it's a weird. Yeah, I'm not gonna try to say that one, but you're right.
Like that.
Yeah, I chose. I chose animals because I think it's subconsciously because I read all the fables from Jean de La Fontaine. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I'm sorry, what was that? One more time?
They are fables. I mean, fairy tales, actually. That would be the word in English. It would be fairy tales.
Oh, we use the word fable too. Absolutely. Oh, okay. So the story comes from a fairy tale, is what you're saying?
No. But when I was younger, I spent a lot of time reading fairy tales that were written by a Frenchman a long time ago called Jean de La Fontaine.
Okay.
Right? He wrote all these fairy tales, fables.
Sure.
But every animal were portraying the rough aspect of people, of mankind. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely, like any good fiction.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that seeped in somewhere, and to me, it appeared normal to use anthropomorphical animals in my game. It's funny because you can run across a bunch of bunnies running away from chamomile, and then a couple meters further, you're going to find a biped rabbit. I decided it's okay inside of that game, but it can be a bit weird. You see a normal deer, and then you're gonna see a character deer. But I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you gotta say, "Hey, it's an indie game." I'm one guy.
Yeah, I'm one guy, and I mean, actually, the moment you accept that a mouse can be a biped, you can accept the rest.
Yeah. No, and honestly, as far as design goes and aesthetics go, it should be a biped. It would be a completely different game if the main character was on four legs.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't work at all.
It'd have to be a cat simulator. That kind of brings to mind the question here about what kind of struggles have you faced with this game so far? I mean, I know it's early.
Yeah. I had some struggle with optimization because
Really?
Yeah, I know it's very low poly, right? It shouldn't be too hard.
But there's a lot on the screen. All the grass is there.
Exactly. I want a lot of movement. So the trees, they move with the wind, the grass move with the wind, and that's a lot of stuff on the shader vertex. So I have to tune and cut down some stuff and whatnot. I mean, I only have optimization problem when you are at the top of the island, and because from the top you can see actually every inch of it.
I see.
I don't use any fog. I don't want to use any fog. So basically, I'm probably going to have to turn to some billboard for the trees. That's a little thing that gave me struggle. I have to say that the biggest struggle for me is actually the programming aspect. Because
okay. Because you're art savvy.
Yeah, I've never touched a C# code before.
Wow.
So I'm
trying. The time to do it. It really is.
Yeah.
It hasn't been easier.
Yeah, exactly. And after that, it's just the aspect of working alone on a game, because
I do know
you do know actually. Yeah, you can get tunnel vision, right? And it's very, very dangerous and detrimental when you are a solo dev, because you go down a rabbit hole and then, I mean, you don't get enough work done every day. And to keep the motivation going and to have somebody that can look at it with the same heart as you and give you a proper critique is difficult too if you don't have that.
Yeah, no, you said it perfectly there. It's almost impossible.
Yeah. I mean, I share stuff on Reddit and on Twitter and whatnot, but it's not the same thing. You're not gonna you are not going to have a copy of you giving you a step back critique. Right. It's not possible.
Even with your closest developer friends, it's difficult to get an honest critique. It can happen. It will happen. Don't get me wrong. Keep on looking for those friends and keep on building those relationships. But yeah, sometimes even your close dev friends will just tell you what is easiest for them, because it's hard. It's hard to give honest, good critique, especially if you're just not really that interested, or if you've got all these other things going on in your life.
Yeah. So like one way I found to kind of help me, especially aesthetically with the game, is I throw away a third of everything I make. Let's say I need new trees. Okay, I'm going to build like 3 sets of 3 trees, because I work with trees all the time. I love that in nature, everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the number 3. So I make 3 variation of one tree. And I'm going to make 3 times 3 trees, and I'm just going to keep one of this set to put into the game.
I love this trick. This is great. Keep going.
And you do it like you would write a book, right? You write and then you come back later and you reread the chapter to edit it. I do the same thing with 3D. I create all the assets. I save them on the side, put them in a test scene, and a week later I'm just walking through them and I try to have that fresh eyes and being very almost mean about it. I'm like, no, that's poop. And that is okay. And then I just go with that and I trash everything else. Actually, if I would listen to myself, I would cut even more, but then I would not finish the game.
Right. No, I feel that. I know exactly where you're coming from. I feel like a lot of our artist listeners probably feel this too. And it's really hard, especially when you're doing everything by yourself, to have to cut stuff like that.
Yes, sometimes you can get attached to something you made, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then if it doesn't work because you thought it was such a great idea and you put it in, and then it's not cohesive, you have to cut it.
That's
you have to cut it,
even if you spend a couple months working on it. I've done that before.
Yeah, and I mean, in such a smallish game that I'm doing, where the thing that is going to draw people in is the aesthetic of it. It has to fit. It has to be cohesive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So a lot of time I'm just changing or deleting stuff. There are still stuff in some of the screenshot I'm watching right now in my press kit. I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna cut that out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
no, I can relate
it's not
entirely. The project I'm working on here is like a space shooter game, but it's a pinball vertical shooter. So it's got like a mechanic thing. It's kind of working with it, which helps.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a retro game, so it's very much it's aesthetic.
Oh yes.
So
yeah.
I'm still working on
and
the art that I started 2 years ago. Funny.
And the more retro you go, and the less visual elements you have, the more one that is not fitting is going to distract and even disrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You cannot like.
There's no shortcuts.
I don't find. yeah. There's no shortcuts, and there's no way of hiding it in the mass. Right?
Yeah.
It's right in the front of the thing here. So
that's a great point. Yeah, man, you're absolutely right. Very cool. So, with all the architectural background and stuff, was there any? I mean, there's a few structures in the game, but I'm not seeing a lot. So, like, 2 questions here: are you planning on adding more structures? And second question being, are you able to go inside the structures?
Okay, so first question, there's gonna be more structure. There's gonna be a little village. There's gonna be a more like wooden staircase and stuff like that. A little bit everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The reason I didn't put many yet is because I've done too much architecture. Yeah. So I'm keeping that for the end almost. Like it's gonna be easy for me to do, but it's not as fun as making nice trees and stuff right now for me. And no, we are not going to be able to walk inside buildings in the game. Okay. Most of the buildings are going to be like a smallish, cartoonish representation of a house. You know, like if you think about it, there's no way that animal could live in it. I have one exception. I have a big-ish house for the old captain, which is a walrus. It's a walrus. Yeah, the old captain is a walrus. I mean, it makes sense. And he has a big-ish house, but no, I didn't plan of being able of going inside the structures because I don't think it would bring anything to the game, and it would give me a ton of work.
Yeah, those are great excuses. I mean, I don't know. You say you're not much of a programmer. Have you ever tried to do a camera controller?
Yeah, well, yeah, no. I have one in the game, and I mean, there's no way I could turn that into something intelligent to go inside of a building.
It's difficult, yeah.
Yeah. And I know how it feels to play a glitchy game with camera, right? I don't want my game to be that.
Cool. I think that's just what I was looking for when I asked the question, honestly.
Okay.
Just testing you. You passed.
All right. Good.
So you've got a gliding mechanic. That's pretty cool. What other kind of mechanics like that, like player-controlled mechanics, are you looking?
So, of course, you have your basic jumping, running around, sprinting, walking. I have a glider because I'm a huge fan of Breath of the Wild and the freedom of the glider.
I'm surprised I didn't bring it up earlier, but I can definitely see the influence of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to talk too much about the fact that Breath of the Wild is an inspiration for the game because my game is such a baby scale and Breath of the Wild is such a masterpiece. But, I mean, I love the glider. I love the freedom it gives, so I had to have mine, which is a feather glider, and that the owl people give you a little bit further down the game. You don't start with it; it's an item that you get a little bit later
to open up the gating, like you expressed earlier.
Exactly. I mean, you don't need it before, and then when you have it, then like it's easier to get around. And I'm planning on another like movement-based item mechanics. Mm-hmm. But I'm still designing it, so I'm not gonna say too much about it. We'll see if it works.
Yeah.
But no, that's gonna be pretty much it because I really want the game to be accessible, and I don't want I don't want it to be, and I'm not saying that in a mean way for any other game or anything, but I don't want to be gimmicky. Gimmicky in terms of gameplay. I don't need more gameplay to pass the message I want.
You don't want to water down your brand with features that don't fit the message, right?
Exactly. It's a game about joy, relaxation, and the choice of being kind. You don't need too much.
But from my standpoint, the reason why I'm interested is like problem solving. For example, like the water, right? So it's an island for
yes,
and I see a stream and a waterfall, and you probably don't want to code it to swim, right? And you don't want it to die. And invisible walls, you know.
I know. Yeah,
So
yeah. It's that one.
How did you deal with that one?
So yeah, that one, because obviously I have a little smaller island right around the big one, and to get to them, I mean, obviously it's not really a puzzle, but it can be one. But you have to fly down there, right, to reach different type of levels that you cannot.
Sure.
Anyway, but yeah, the minute you can fly over water, you can fall in it. I mean, you like you said, the big blocking volume is really not nice. So. I found a little trick. That thing that I'm lucky it fits the gameplay of the game. It's not implemented completely yet. That's why it's not even in the trailer or anything. But Camomille, she cannot swim, so when she falls into the water, she starts, like to struggle a little bit in the water, and then you have a dolphin that comes and push her up back to the shore.
Oh, I love it. That's perfect.
I mean, it fits perfectly my theme, right?
Yeah.
So
it fits perfect.
And I saw. Yeah.
No, go ahead. You can keep talking about the dolphin. Have you named it?
No. I don't know if it's gonna have a name yet. Maybe it's gonna have a name. I have to think about that.
Hey, maybe your Kickstarter backers might have a thought on that.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I'm noting that. That's a super idea. I love it. If somebody would help me with the name of the dolphin. But yeah, so because I was very happy when I found the idea of the dolphin pushing Camomille back to shore, because it fits the theme, and development-wise, it's a super shortcut, right? It's gonna save me a ton of design issues.
Absolutely.
By being actually extra cute. So
creative.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's a perfect solution. I don't know if any other game uses that method, but I mean,
I'm sure somewhere something's pushed someone back to shore at some point.
Yeah, of course, but like as a failsafe of not drawing in the game, because I mean, I could have used the good old and not very pretty fade in, fade out, you're back on shore, right? But I did not want that because it's cheap, right? And it's not 8-bit game,
right? Breath of the Wild does that. When you drown. Isn't that what happens?
Yeah, when you drown. Yeah, you're right. You spring on the shore, but I mean, it's because you can drown, and I don't want my character to drown in this game. That's not really acceptable.
I think you're doing a great job.
So I had two options, right? I can have a very, very nice bird come and pick her up, or I can have a dolphin pushing back to shore. But I think that dolphins are cuter.
Hey, why not?
That's all.
Right. Well, I guess develop.
Why not both? No, you're right. I could actually have both, and it could be one on the other randomly or whatever. Yeah, I can definitely do both.
Yeah, or maybe regional, depending on what region you're in.
Yeah, also, you're right.
Of course, you'll have to take a look at how much actual development time you have.
Yes. Well, I could always patch in more animals that come save Camomille, like sea turtles, or a lot of things can come and save her.
Yeah, and so that brings up a good question here. What are your plans? I mean, obviously this is a little early to ask this. Are you planning on doing like a full release and then update patches, or are you planning on do like any content that like DLC type stuff? Or it's probably too early to ask these questions, huh?
Yeah, it's a bit early because of course most of it will depend on how well the game would do. If
the reception,
if it finds a nice bunch of what's the word, of players, right, an audience,
player base,
well, I would be super happy to create more stuff, more little adventure. I have an idea of a big underworld there, a big cave.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that would actually might be it will end up as a stretch goal for the Kickstarter. We'll see.
Wow.
But basically, the game should release on the 1st of January.
Very cool. Very cool.
That is my date, and
1st of January.
yeah, 1st of January, because I mean that's the earliest I can finish it. And the content-wise, I plan to have the game fully fleshed out and finished for that release date. But then I have so many other ideas that I can bring in that I would love to make them as free updates down the line. That will depend of how it goes.
Sure. But as far as you as a studio is concerned, this looks like an IP that you're planning on running with, or something that you'd like to evolve, or maybe you've got some other ideas, or it's just this is the only thing that's on your mind right now.
I have another game that is cooking up inside of my head as I make this one.
It's impossible to only have one good idea, right?
Yeah. I have something else. It has nothing to do with that one.
Wow.
It's a cooperative game though, not a solo one. So like a step up in terms of development also, but it's completely different now. It will depend, because the more I work on Camomille, the more I get attached to the character and to the world.
Sure.
So if I have the opportunity to do more of it, or to expand, I will probably take it. But of course, it's a bit further down the road. I have no idea yet, but I know I have a lot of ideas.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I'm sure you've been dreaming of being a dev for a long time now. It sounds like you probably have notebooks full of ideas, right?
Yeah. Yes. Well, when I went and studied art in Belgium, my goal was actually to become a concept artist.
Wow.
But then I started to study video games, and at that point I knew I wanted to become an independent developer already, actually, more than going to work into a studio. I wanted to have the freedom.
Wow.
But in 2007, it was very early to think about that as a true possibility. Actually, for me, in my own personal development mostly. So but I've started to make numerous games before that. Never showed anything of any of them before.
Wow, we're so similar. We really are. Like, we're the same age. I took a year off between high school and college, though. So I graduated 2009. And so, I had a second year of first grade also. So that probably plays into that, the date difference. But when I graduated, it was like, I really wanted to. Well, honestly, I was kind of dumb. So I wanted to work for a studio, and no one was hiring. So I was like, well, what do I do now? I guess I'll just have to do it myself. And it was really hard for me to learn, because I was an artist. I was trying to learn programming, and
it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough. Yes,
it's so funny to me that how we pretty much lived the same story, but hit it at different angles.
Yeah, you're right.
Now here we are on the same podcast.
Yeah, there we go.
I love it. And we didn't really talk too much about how long you wanted to go here. We're at about an hour now. If you wanted to only go an hour, we could start wrapping things up, or we could go longer if you want. It's up to you.
I have no worries. I can go longer. I just finished painting everything in the house, and in the apartment, and I'm finally have time.
Awesome. That's so great. Yeah, and I've got a whole bunch of free time myself, and this is a great conversation, so I don't mind at all. So, nice. How do you like your new apartment?
It's all right. It's a lot of light. I really like it, but it had a lot of painting and cleaning to be done. Like a ton of it. Not my first at all, but that one is something.
A fixer upper.
But it's a good fixer upper. But no, I'm kind of pleased with the the layout and the light. So
yeah, light is so important. I had a little. It wasn't a studio. It was like a 1-bedroom though. It was so small, and the light was just. There was like no light coming through.
That's very hard. It's depressing almost.
It was, yeah. And then the rent was really expensive too. So I was like, why am I even here?
Oh.
I got out of there, but
Good.
So your apartment, that's your home office then. Is that correct, or is that an assumption?
Yeah. That's where I work on the game, and try to make it happen.
So what kind of tools do you use in your home office? Like you got a laptop, a desktop?
I use a desktop that starts to get old, and I hope it's not gonna crap on me too soon, because I really need to finish the game, right?
How old is it?
My computer, I think it's 6 years old now.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I mean, a very nice friend of mine gave me a very good graphic card. Like when I started working on the game, yeah. I mean, I try to upgrade some stuff, but mostly I use 2 screens because I always need one for my reference to the right? And it's a pretty basic setup, and I like to have a lot of LED strip lights everywhere to bring some colors.
That's so cool. I'm about to purchase some LEDs myself.
I love that stuff. It's so cheap, and it brings so much mood, right? And it's pretty cool.
Very cool. And are you using a tablet?
I have a nice graphic tablet that actually my parents offered me.
Oh wow!
An XP pen, like a big one. Not a Wacom, but it's an amazing product.
I just got an XP pen myself.
Nice. Did you?
I got the 21-inch, I think, 22-inch.
22-inch Pro. That's one you get.
Yeah. That's
I got the same one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was looking at it and I was like, man, maybe I should have got the 24, but I really like it.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it a ton, and I'm not spending enough time as much as I would actually on it, because I do so much designing on the fly in 3ds Max that I end up not drawing that much, sadly.
Right.
I was doing a whole bunch of concept arts that are not related to the Camomille beforehand with the tablet, though. Really enjoyed it, and I hope to get back to it maybe for the next project.
Yeah. I mean, I've been using mine for pixel art, which is probably sacrilege for some people, but I prefer it definitely.
Well, it's a tool. The minute it makes you more comfortable and more happy, it's justified.
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, just not having to hunch over is like huge.
Yes.
But ZBrush, I mean, when I was in college, I spent a lot of time doing character modeling rather than the architectural stuff. And I mean, I did some architectural, but mostly it was characters. And I really want to get back into ZBrush and come up with a reason to purchase a license and have it, use it for a game and just like really stick with it, because that was really what I wanted to learn. I think that when I went to college, was the character modeling. Of course, it's the most competitive of the fields. It seems like. Have you done any characters outside of for the game, or is this your first soiree in character design?
No, it's the first one. It's the first one. Yeah, I mean, thank you. I've drawn and did some concept art, but it's funny because most of the time what I draw is more sci-fi-ish, Blade Runner, like very, very dark and very but not that dark, but very realistic and stuff like that. And it's even my first time designing something that is cartoonish, and I find it very easy actually. So
awesome.
So easy for me. I can just start from nothing and model a new character out of nowhere, and it's not something I can do with more realistic styles. So it's a nice surprise.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I had the opposite experience myself actually, when all of this cute wholesome content started, appearing everywhere, I decided I was going to try my hand at it too. I realized immediately how difficult it was. For me personally, I tend to draw my influence from my traumas, apparently. That's what I've been doing this whole time subconsciously, and I'm not good at. I don't have that. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a good person. I go around trying to help people. I do this interview. I do a podcast. I try to help indies. I've got mentees or mentorships and stuff like that. But when it comes to trying to draw a smiling face, it's really difficult. Just something as simple as a smiling face. I could do a straight, no expression, expressionless face, easy. I could do it lifelike, and I took life drawing classes, but trying to come up with a smile from memory is just impossible for me.
That's interesting.
It's weird.
It is weirdly interesting. I don't exactly know what's the.
Oh no, there's probably some deeper underlying meaning there.
Oh yeah, that probably is. Yeah.
Something psychologically askewed with my art style, but hey, it's what got me this far in my art career. So
there you go.
And now everything's wholesome. I'm failing, but no, I'm just kidding. I like I like pixel art a lot. So for me, it's like explosions and aliens and stuff like that. So yeah, and sci-fi. I love the sci-fi stuff. So.
Yeah, pixel art I cannot do. I tried and I'm very bad at it.
Really? Oh man, see, I actually just tried a few years ago myself for the first time, like taking it seriously, and reading the rules and taking it that seriously, right? And I was like, wow, this is not so bad. I like this,
Nice. I wish I could draw some pixel art because it's very interesting, but yeah, it's not coming to me. So because my brain functions a lot three-dimensionally, like it's volumes, right? A lot of it, and that's why I'm not very super good at designing on paper, and I just design directly in 3D. So
it's difficult to translate that. It really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and actually, I had some early drawings at the beginning for Camomille and everything, and then you start to model it, and you realize you have to adjust so much of the design that to save time, actually, I kind of almost skipped the designing on paper phase.
Wow. Yeah, no, I've been there too. Once you realize that you've got a workflow down, like a pattern, then sometimes you can skip some steps.
Yeah. Once you develop the visual language, you can skip a lot of steps. Yeah.
You say you developed a visual language? Sorry, I cut out a little bit there.
Yeah. I said once you have the visual language developed for a particular game, there's a lot of things you don't need to rethink, right? To go for, and it goes faster.
So the way I look at it in terms of art and projects or creating anything really is you have to come up with a set of rules and know which ones you can bend and which ones you can break. Like at the beginning, and we kind of we touched on that earlier when we mentioned the foundation that you came up with to be able to produce something as quickly as you did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's super important.
It's extremely important, yes. and make the good decisions, right? I mean, don't try to go double A when you are alone. You're never gonna finish the game.
I mean, from what I'm looking at, it kind of says double A all over your press kit here. That's what I'm seeing.
Really?
It looks very double A.
Really? Well, that's good because I'm not even trying to go double A in my head. It's not double A, but okay, all right.
I think what you've done is great. So whatever your level of effort that you're putting into it, I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said earlier, I can see it fractalized throughout. The warmth and the kindness is all very much like all over the place. Very well done.
That's it. I just hope when somebody plays the game, they just have a better day. That's all I want. That's the whole idea there, right? If somebody someday writes to me, I had an excellent time on your game, well, mission accomplished for that one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's great. It seems so like apparent looking at it right now. But when you're like starting a new project in your notebook, I'm like, oh, this will be so frustrating for the player. They're going to love it. That's not always the case, right? I mean, and then it's going to be frustrating for you to try to, test it and make sure that it's, polished just right.
Yeah,
So,
that's got to be some art form, right? To make a game that frustrates people the right way.
it's that's what I'm working on actually. So it's a little difficult. Every once in a while, you get people that they just say this is not my type of game, and you just have to be okay with it.
Yeah, I have no idea how I would design that because I'm very much intolerant to frustration. So,
oh, it's weird. I am too, actually. I am too.
But,
it was an accident. In fact, any of my listeners probably know by now that I'm not a huge fan of like 2D platformers, like outside of some of the classics, like Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario World, Yoshi's Island, things like that. Like, I like those a lot. But some of the harder ones, like Celeste, I was talking about before, I got a blister, and I was really wanting to beat it. It's like, do I really want to hurt myself playing this game? I totally feel you, but with my project right now, I fell into it because I found an interesting mechanic that it seemed to have some legs. I mean, they're little baby legs at first, but they keep growing.
So. Yeah. In a way, it's not very different from my project because it's not like wholesome games is the first thing I used to play at all, right?
Yeah. Well, there wasn't a whole lot of wholesome games when we were growing up.
That too, yeah. And then I just found a message, right, that resonated with me.
Yeah.
It's like, because in the case of this game, the message is more important than the gameplay mechanic, right? And that got me hooked on it, and now like it's opening a whole lot of venues to try new stuff that I didn't try before too, in terms of games and stuff. It's very interesting.
So you said that you kind of you found this like philosophy almost. Is that about right? You found it? You discovered it in a sense?
Well, yeah, it's like how can I say that? It's like a personal rebirth. Like it's very personal to go into that though. There's a time and place for what happened, but let's say it took me a lot of time to notice random acts of kindness and actually like care about people. I'm just going to say it that way. And when it came out of me, and all of a sudden after a whole process, it touched me like deep, like really super deep, and got me all mushy there, and then I started to notice it, and then I started to practice it, practice random acts of kindness myself, and it's been 5 years since that drastic change, and so I think there's a lot of therapy going into this game, I have to admit it, but it's probably the case with every indie dev.
It absolutely is. I mean, I don't think you can avoid it. It's going to have some effect on you.
And the game is going to have a big chunk of you in there.
Yeah. And if you don't make it therapeutic, then you're probably hurting yourself on accident, I feel like, because it's that difficult to do.
You're right, because it keeps the drive going, it's healthy. I mean, it's a good thing.
And if it's therapeutic for you, it could be very well therapeutic for others.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
No, I don't see why not. I mean, especially the game that you're working on and the direction you're taking it. I mean, that's quite specifically your goal, right?
Yeah, it is. That's definitely the message. It's the goal. It's it's that.
So I don't want to push you into like the turning point, like you said, but could you go into any of the random acts that you either came across or like while you were like doing that introspection type thing, or random acts that you yourself have actually performed?
Well, yeah, I can talk of one example that was the first one that struck me, and
I feel like that might inspire others,
But and that's the thing that is very interesting with a random act of kindness, is that they are legitimately really small. I mean, you could make a big one, but I mean,
that doesn't necessarily help. A big one.
No, and
It
I mean
doesn't help
something
anymore, I mean.
something really simple that most of the people listening now would be like, well, it's not really that special, but
Right,
yeah,
right.
there was it was a huge intersection and a lot of traffic, and
Sure.
a guy just decided that he would block the whole lot of it and get out of his car and just help an elderly woman cross the street. It took forever, right?
Oh, yeah.
But nobody honked. Nobody moved. They could easily, start to, because it was a huge intersection. But just the dude stopped the whole thing, like
Wow.
the big traffic and stuff.
And you witnessed
And
that?
yeah, and I mean, without any excitation, any anger in his, in his behavior, it was just doing it on purpose and peacefully, and everything went very smoothly. And I don't know, it was nothing very, I mean, it happens a ton, I'm sure, and I hope it happens a ton of times, but I don't know, because it happened when it happened, I started to cry like a baby.
Well, I don't blame you there. Honestly, if you had grown up with the type of conditioning that I have and most people in the US, then you probably would have been hysterical, because it just doesn't happen here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, here in Canada, I suppose we are a bit more lucky for that. But even then, I mean, it's not like I see these very often, but it's not a very special one, right? But in any case, yeah, it opened the gate with a simple act, and I think it's the contrast between these two elements that really marked me. It's a simple act, and in me, it opened a huge thing.
Sure. But any act has repercussions. So it might seem simple looking from the outside, but that guy made a decision to go out and help someone, whether or not someone was gonna like rear end his car and run off or what. I mean, things are different here in the U.S. obviously.
Yeah, well, you're right. It had a lot of consequences. One of them being that it touched me very deeply. Right?
Yeah, there it is. Absolutely, well spoken.
So you're right. It's very important, actually.
No, I agree, 100%. Yeah, that's a great example too.
Yeah. So a bit later, like months and months later after that, I started, to try to be more quiet, right? Because I used to be somebody that takes a lot of space, a lot of visual and noise and space, right? And I started to go more quiet and more observe more what was happening. And I noticed somebody that seemed to be in distress by the edge of a railway, right? A metro railway. And I just stepped to that person, and that person was admittedly going to jump.
Yeah, that's scary.
So yeah, it's very scary. And well, basically managed not to have that person jump that day. So that was pretty good too.
That's amazing. You saved that person.
For that day, because that's the issue with this type of, when somebody gets that far, is difficult, right? But sometimes they can turn around after that one try not to do it, for what I've read about it.
In my own personal experience with having dealt with near suicides, that's what I dealt with, was that they did not continue that mindset. They learned and they evolved and they became a great person.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Because I mean, suicide isn't it's a symptom, is what it is.
Yeah, I've read about it, of course, since then, and learned more about the subject. But it's it's very, very difficult stuff to deal with. I just know that particular person decided on her own accord to just go back home. Like, I didn't have to call anybody to constrain her or something like that, So that's good.
And to be clear, you spoke to them and spoke them down from their decisions?
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I spoke to that person, and yeah, just I mean, you just say what you try to say, and get that person to not do that sad thing there. But yeah,
Well, we can dissect that a little further. I mean, you have to think it's not easy to do what you did there. I mean, it's great that you're able to downplay it a little bit and be modest, but for listeners, I mean, what you did was you made a decision to use your words, which are extremely valuable. I mean, not yours particularly, but words in general are just prone to error. So you had to use your words extremely carefully there. Sure.
Yes, you try to, right? But myself, I've dealt with that type of thoughts before, so I mean it helped, I guess, find some words. But
I'm very sorry to hear that.
Oh, it's okay. It's a long time ago. I was young, and But what interests me the most is that if I was not in that mindset of being quiet, watching, and listening, I would not even notice.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And so there's probably a whole bunch of people who didn't notice.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, I'm sure I didn't notice other times before and after that. Sadly, I try to notice a lot, but and so that is what is important.
Wow. Well, yeah, you can only do what you can, but yeah, that's so important.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, it's very important for me to speak about that, but I'm not going to have any character that is suicidal in the Kind Camomille or anything like that.
Absolutely.
There's no way. It's yeah.
But I mean, it's real life experiences will shape you as a developer. There's no avoiding that.
Yeah, apparently they do, and then developing shapes you too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, how do you feel? This is changing the subject a little bit, but not a lot. How do you feel about the game dev community that you've kind of experienced so far?
I only have one regret. It's that I didn't join earlier. I just love the indie game community. It's a ton of fun. I just love posting on Twitter my stuff just because I get to somebody new is gonna comment or something, then I talk to them, and then I end up with like 15 people in my private messages talking about stuff and trying their game and whatnot. I mean, everybody's lovely and everybody's helping each other. I really love it.
Yeah, me too. And I was the same way when I first joined, maybe 3 years ago or so. I had a Twitter, I just wasn't using it. It just didn't seem like there was a purpose for it for me. But after a while, when Facebook started to get demented, I realized that Twitter was like way better, just like way better.
Yeah, I think I joined. Yeah, I joined in 2010, and I only been active on Twitter, I think, for a month and a half. That's it.
Yeah,
and it's amazing. I love it. I think it's very good for indie dev community. I'm not sure it's that good for
anything else.
Yes, I mean it's not super interesting for news, but I don't know if you could have the same benefits from it in other fields, but for indie game devs, if you are not using Twitter, you have to just for the positivity it brings out.
No, I think you're right. It's real easy for people to get caught up in the social aspects of. I mean, it's social media we're talking about here, but we don't have to look at Twitter as a this huge conglomerate that it is. I mean, sure, we have to see it that way at points, but what I'm trying to say is that we can take a slice of that, which is the hashtag indie dev or whatever, and just enjoy that. We don't have to take all of Twitter in and say like, oh, well, this is all part of my life now, because I don't.
No, you're right. You can live in a very nasty and big city. You just go down to your favorite pub. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, definitely, I agree with that, because of course, if you look at it as the huge machine it is, with all this weird stuff happening on it, it can be
it's intimidating.
It is. It's not as it's intimidating as a Reddit though, but it is, yeah.
And I think part of the reason with that is that the indie devs community is just not nearly as supportive on Reddit. It just isn't. Same with Facebook. It's just not nearly as supportive.
Yeah. That's you.
I don't know why.
I don't know actually. I think it's a subculture, right? So people shift their behavior based on where they are, and it's
No, I think you made a good point here because it's like Twitter. You end up with a lot more professionals. It's like more akin to LinkedIn almost.
Yes, it is. You're right. It is. It is.
I think that makes a huge difference because you're not going to see that type of negativity at all on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But it's not a great platform either. So, I mean, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it's good. I used it extensively when I was in architecture, of course.
Absolutely.
But now Twitter is my little space there now. I like it.
Yeah, and like you said, like Reddit, like I just wish I knew how to work that.
Oh man, yeah, but that's the thing. Reddit is really a weird place. If you just want to lose a little piece of your soul, just go and try to talk about something you care about.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
and you have to develop thick skin as a dev. You probably haven't experienced any negative comments yet, which your game. Well, that actually might pose a problem for you because I mean, and maybe not, because you're probably going to end up with a community full of all types of people, and devs are going to be there, and they're going to be super helpful. So you probably won't have too much of a problem. But yeah, it's. I feel like some people will only want to be nice.
Well, I only had one very mean comment already, and it was on. I think it was on Imgur, not even on Reddit. It was something
that really surprises me.
Yeah, it was something along the lines that there's nothing that kills life in a game more than a soulless character with dead eyes. I'm like, okay, thank you. He was talking about Camomille.
That's some really good feedback, though. I mean, it's hard. It's hard not to take that to heart. But if you take your game out of the context, what they're saying is very real.
It's very real because, of course, if you don't animate the eyes of a big-eyed character, it's going to look weird, right?
Yeah. Well, but mice have red eyes. White mice have red eyes, like what I mean? Like in real life. But you're gonna have to make some what compromises with reality. It's a fantasy game. So.
And sadly, I had to make some compromises with my riggings. Right, I was trying to start and animate like eyes and pupils and stuff. I mean, lids and stuff. It's out of my.
You know what the silver lining is? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. The silver lining here is that comment came on Imgur, and not Steam. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was okay. It's just that I mean, the comment did not hurt me that much at all. But I was
of course.
I was like, it's actually right. It's the way of saying it was a bit mean. Yes. I was surprised not to have that comment on Reddit because when I post sometimes on Reddit, I have positive comments. But
I feel like sometimes Reddit they just ignore more than negativity.
Yeah, I think it's actually the case. Yeah. Well, if you try to go on a big subreddit and you sound too promotional, they are going to destroy you.
Absolutely.
But I mean, it's part of the game. Yeah. It's part of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's part of it. Because let's face it, it's not spam. You're showing people a part of your soul. Like realistically, like this is a part of you that you're showing people. And for someone to say that it's spam, that hurts. It's gonna happen, but it hurts. You just have to know it's not spam.
Yeah. You know what I find a bit weird is that if you go on a big subreddit or whatever, and you post a drawing you made, right? It's something you made. It's part of you, and people are just going to be mostly nice about it. But the minute of you show something that is part of a game you make, so potentially a product. Let's face it, of course. They just focus on the fact that you are trying to promote. And I mean, I understand it because nobody wants to be spammed with a ton of promotional content and stuff. But the same issue at the same time is that as an indie developer, you don't have much places to do it, right? You have to show it to people. So it's a bit difficult. It can be difficult.
It is.
But
I've experimented with on the lines of this is that I've actually experimented with taking off my branding, like taking the logo off the art, and it gets a better response.
Yeah.
Not showing the link until someone asks for it is like pretty good too sometimes, but sometimes it's not good. Sometimes people are like, "Well, where's the link?"
Yeah, exactly. I came to the same conclusions as you. I don't put on Reddit, for example, especially, I don't put a link and I don't put the name of the game anywhere, and then I write it in the first comments. And yeah, the minute you put a watermark, it's over.
Well, it depends on the platform.
Yeah, of course. If you go in a subreddit about game dev, it's okay. But yeah. On
Facebook is the funniest to me because it's got these algorithms that are just relentless algorithms. Like if you put a link in your post, like that throws something. Like Twitter doesn't have that, where like it takes a tweet that has a link the same as a tweet that just has text or image. Facebook, it changes everything. If it's live, it's different than if it's a video. Then if it's an image, then if it's just text, or if it has a link, they're all different. So the best way to do it to promote your game on your own Facebook is like, hey, that thing I do is up again. Like you have to like not say game because it'll like trigger something in the algorithm. Like you have to not say like purchase or buy. There's all these little rules, and then they're like, the comments will be like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah, I'm not using Facebook too much.
It's really not the best for game devs right now, unfortunately. No. Hopefully it changes.
Maybe it will change someday. Maybe it takes another turn.
Or hopefully we move somewhere else, get a better platform altogether.
Yeah, that would be better.
Yeah, probably with all the data and stuff. And Zuckerberg and all that. But yeah. So this has been a great conversation. I'm really happy with all this. I mean, it has been an hour and 30 minutes, so it's probably about time to start closing things up. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you feel is important?
Wait. I don't think so. It was important for the game that I talk about Kickstarter, and we did it. Thanks to you.
We talked about the Kickstarter. Let's go over the dates again.
Yeah. So the Kickstarter is currently in pre-launch, so you could go and register to stay notified when it launches the 5th of August of this year.
Okay, 5th of August this year.
Yep.
And sign up right now to get notified.
Exactly.
And what's the best place to find you online if we were going to give a link out or something like that, or website to search?
Yeah, sure. So I think the best place to find the game and me would be on Twitter. You just Kind Camomille at Kind Camomille will get you onto the Twitter's account for the game.
Okay, yeah, and that's one word. There's no space in that, right?
No space. So Kind and Camomille with 2 L's. And from there, You'll find everything you need to find. You'll have a link to the Kickstarter page. And then you have my own Twitter if you're interested. Also, it's at Xavier R, like Roger, Moiny. Moiny. It's a bit weird.
Well, I'm sure if they go to your chamomile page, then they'll probably be able to find you from there. So
yeah, no problem with that. Yeah.
And then do you have a website for the game or no?
Is that just, yes, the kindcamomille.com. There is a website.
Oh, cool.
I stopped promoting it too much because I noticed it was diluting my efforts to get Steam wishlists, because you can wishlist the game also. It's on Steam. And so I had to stop going through that one. And I started to just stay more Twitter-based now.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense. Sometimes it's like you're keeping all these plates spinning, and sometimes you just have to decide what's really important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and right now the focus is really on onto the Kickstarter campaign, right? So we are trying to ship people that way as much as possible.
Right, because it comes down to the call of action, right? The one thing you want people to do, it might change from time to time. Well, it's definitely going to if you're doing a good job, but you got to have it like front center,
Definitely, so. Yeah, you're right. It's call to action is like gospel.
Yeah, and I didn't know you were on Steam, so I mean you're actually doing a great job of that. But I am going to wishlist you on Steam since I'm the type, and I'm gonna get notified of the Kickstarter so that way I can find out how much the demo is going to be and see if I can name the dolphin.
Oh, the demo is going to be free, by the way. You have access on Steam for free. It's not going to be gated by the Kickstarter. I want everybody to try it.
Wow, that's really cool. I think people are going to appreciate that for sure.
Thank you.
Very cool. So are there any streams coming up or anything like that?
I have to edit it. I don't do streams. I do some devlogs on my YouTube channel. I only have 3 of them, and I'm working on the 4th one as we speak. I don't have streams yet because, like you said, yes, it is a bit too early, and I'm working on the demo, and I kind of want to keep it as a little surprise there because it's not
sure, absolutely.
So, but the 5th of August is very close, so people are going to be able to try it very soon.
That's so cool. Yeah, no, I can't wait. All right, so we've covered pretty much everything.
Yep.
I want to thank you so much for coming on. This was a great conversation. I learned a ton. I really did.
You did. I'm glad you did. I had a lot of fun, actually. It was my first ever interview, so very nice, very cool.
Hey, perfect warm-up, right?
Yeah, thank you.
I see a bright future of interviews coming your way.
Well, thank you. And I hope you're going to have a ton of fun podcasting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've had a ton of fun already, even though this is still pretty early in my podcasting career.
Yeah, looking forward to listen to your podcasts.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to bringing you back on to find out how well Camomille has done.
Oh, with pleasure. Yeah, that would be awesome. Cool.
Very cool. Thank you so much again, and have a great day.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you everyone so much for listening. I hope this episode is as meaningful to all of you as it has been for me. I definitely plan to keep bringing on awesome interviews for us to learn from together. If you're enjoying this content, give a follow on Twitter at IGDR_podcast. Check out the link in the bio. There's a link tree to the YouTube page, the Anchor page, the Discord. There's a form to sign up for an interview. All the places are there. The link in the bio. If you're interested, that's awesome. Thank you. Go check it out. And for everyone, definitely take care and enjoy the rest of your day.